If we were to tell you that you could have one hit as a music artist and forever be in infamy, would you take it? You absolutely would. It's One Hit Wonder Wednesdays, giving you your 15 minutes of fame and extending it for a lifetime.
You are listening to 104.1 KQTH, Tucson's News and Talk. This is One Hit Wonder Wednesday. We got Charles in Charge in place at 751-1041. We have the sexy sidekick DJ Boss Ross spinning the One Hit Wonders today. KTR News outfit up in Phoenix has partnered with our old friends at OHPI. They got a poll out. They do. Here's what it says. Slightly more than half of Arizona voters said President Donald Trump's first 100 days in office were unsuccessful. What? According to a KTAR News OH Perspective Insights poll released Wednesday. According to the poll, 54% of respondents said that the president's first 3+ months in office were unsuccessful. 43% said that the opposite, and 3% either did not know or refused to answer the question. About 75% of Republicans said Trump's first 100 days were successful. Historically, a new president typically gets favorable ratings that are 80% or higher in the first 3 months of office. The president hit the 100-day mark on Saturday. He said last week that the milestone, seen by some as a honeymoon period, when a new administration wields heavy amounts of post-election clout, was being overly hyped. Well, he didn't get any honeymoon whatsoever. What are you talking about? It's an artificial barrier. It is. It's not very meaningful. Well, despite his campaign focusing heavily on promises of taking action on numerous fronts within the period. Of 38 specific promises Trump made in his 100-day contract with voters, this is my pledge to you, he said. He's accomplished 10. His attempt to pass 2 bans on travels from Muslim nations were both halted by courts. A Republican-controlled Congress tried and failed to vote on a new health care plan to replace the Affordable Care Act. The administration has been dragged down by questions into alleged contact with Russian officials during the campaign. Former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn resigned after he held numerous calls with Russian ambassador to the U.S. during the Trump's transition into office and gave incomplete information about those discussions to Vice President Mike Pence. But it wasn't all losses for the first-time politician. Trump succeeded in getting his nominee, Judge Neil Gorsuch, confirmed to the Supreme Court. Yeah! Yes! Yes! We can stop right there. But I won't. The president also pulled the United States out of the maligned Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership, took action to remove climate change policies, and scrapped various other regulations from the President Barack Obama's time in office, all of which were campaign promises. Despite the roller coaster that was the first 100 days of the administration, just 38% of respondents in the KTR News OHPI poll said they were worse off when Trump took office. 31% said that they were in a better place, and 30% said that they remained the same. 1% either didn't know or refused to answer. This poll was conducted May the 1st by OH Perspective Insights. That's an Arizona-based polling company. That's our good friend right there on the line waiting for me to get to him. That's Mike Noble's group. And he did this with KTR News 92.3 FM. A total of 401 registered Arizonans voted. Voters responded. 30% were Democrats. 70% was split evenly between Republicans and independents. Interesting. Mike Noble, our favorite pollster. Welcome to the circus.
Hey, James. Thanks for having me on.
Wow, so you're working up there with the KTAR News, huh?
Hey, they're closer. I'm
not mad at you, buddy. I'm not mad.
I've never been one for a commute.
I understand. No, you know what? I commend them. This is a great poll. But the information that you gleaned, though, is a little bit shocking to me.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it was and this is, by the way, part of a 3-part series. We have 2 more parts that we'll be releasing tomorrow, which the final portion, I think, may blow your mind, James Harris.
Oh, really?
Oh, and it's regarding the wall.
Wow.
Honestly, it was blown away. I saw it. I was like, the number. I was just like, wowzers. So, so I gave you a little piece, but you'll have it tomorrow before noon.
Okay, now, Mike Noble, I have to tell you, just the pure partisan in me wants me to say fake news. Fake news, but I know you, and I trust your methodology. We've discussed it on the show before, so this truly is shocking. Is this? It was not always like this. There has been a fundamental change.
Yeah, so a couple of things. I mean, let me start with, I would say, what the big takeaways I would say to, you get these polls back, you get all these numbers, all this data, and then the folks say, what are the main takeaways from it? And so what I think is, you look at that top line number, 43% of Arizonans say his first 100 days were successful, but then you have, conversely, 54% say no. So right there, you have Trump down 11 points among Arizona voters, that 11-point difference there. And to put that in perspective, you look at the 2016 general election results, Trump only won with 3.5% of the vote, 48 to 44.5. So you look at that difference. He won the state by 3.5. Now they ask, his first 100 days, were they successful? He's now down 11.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to say, Mike Noble,
refute that one.
Well, I'm going to say that this is the result of a very powerful negative campaign against Trump since inauguration.
Yeah, no, I think the Democrats definitely were tasting the sour grapes when they saw the election results, when I think it was basically a foregone conclusion they were going to win. I mean, they were already measuring the drapes. And then
right.
You have, Trump, I think a shocker to most that he won. And anyways, he's in there. But and to say, when you look at, pollsters in general kind of got a bad beat, I think, last election. And I guess to put this into context is that Trump even did a email of our exact press release of Trump numbers during the campaign. And we called his winning and his results within the margin of error. So, when it comes to fake polls, we might get a pass.
Yeah, I definitely give you a pass. I even said, that would be my first inclination, but we know, and I thank you for, once again, touting your record throughout the election, because you guys were pretty dead on. So I don't mistrust this at all. What I'm saying is, what I find alarming about it is, the mainstream media narrative, the attacks against Trump have been very, very effective. If this were not Trump, I believe that if this were a Democrat who like back in 8 years ago, if this were Obama, he wouldn't get hammered like this from day one. Matter of fact, it was 8 years of a love fest with Obama.
Yeah, and I think there's multiple things. You have. I think it's leading the framework. Like right now, we're watching with the healthcare. When someone, let's say one of the members says, "Hey, I don't think we're going to be able to, get the votes or get this done," and I think they're really building up because they're trying to create that narrative of all talk but can't walk the walk.
Right.
And like you said, but he's proven them wrong. Many have turned. So it's just definitely been interesting. I mean, clearly the press is far more combative with this president, because compared to maybe some others that play the typical political game, you have Trump who doesn't, and compared to politically maneuvering around it, he pushes back, and but then you create that animosity,
right?
And so I'm not saying that maybe is all of it. However, that could definitely be a factor.
I'll give you another part. Tell me if this can't be a factor as well, because in the article here, KTR News and your outfit, OH Perspectives, this is interesting that you say of 38 specific promises Trump made of his first 100-day contract with voters. This is my pledge to you. He accomplished 10. Okay. And then we start talking about, the executive orders that are still held up in court, the failure of Congress to do to repeal Obamacare. And how much of this negative view is really on Congress as well?
Well, and that's just it, because you have Trump, who's the president of the executive, 3 branches of government, and he is obviously the one with the highest, I think, visibility of the bunch. But then you have 400 and some odd members of Congress who have been gridlocked in general. But the way our system works is that Congress has to, get a bill passed. And then once it's passed there, it has to go to the Senate.
Right.
And then from there, the president signs it into law. And so of course, you have a lot of folks. And because of the partisan issues, you look at Democrats, I don't think not a single one of them is supporting actually Trump's, on let's say, the healthcare, for example. I mean, you have literally everyone. I mean, if you were to, I don't know, like I said, it might be a generational difference because, I was born in '84. But I think back 30, 40 years ago, folks, it was common to work across the aisle because that was the way it was set up. I mean, you have folks that are on the right, you have folks on the left, but you find something in the middle that ultimately gets passed and then, works, is a nice compromise. And you just don't see it. You go to try to work with the other party, and you're just
and maybe that's partly what's reflected in this poll as well, because we are polarized, Mike Noble, and I believe that conservatives, we don't want compromise. We don't want to reach across the aisle. We want to win. We want to see the Democrats put in their place. So when you get stuff like this omnibus bill that just passed, and you have the Democrats celebrating, and you have the conservative base saying, "What the hell?" That doesn't bode well for the perception that you are winning.
Well, correct, and that's why the political process is very difficult. Definitely now more than ever, and that's why some other key, I guess, points or insights into this poll. So when we're looking at that first 100 days, the reason why he's down is that a quarter of Trump's base. Which historically you should be within your support should be within the 80s, usually high 80s. He's got a quarter of Republicans that say, no, I don't think the first 100 days is successful. Which, here's the thing: look at the factors that I could see that because building the wall, Mexico paid for it, healthcare, etc. And he's done everything he could do when it comes to the executive. However, the failure of getting the necessary votes on the healthcare bill and things of that nature. So that's why you may see some of those diehard folks that, voted for him originally and were supporting him. And now they're like, hey, where are the results?
I agree. I also think that those people who are with him, though, his base is going to be still with him. I think a lot of people are looking at what's happening with with Congress. I think a lot of this plays into the press, but at the end of the day, I mean, your poll reflects that there has been an erosion in the great state of Arizona when it comes to support for President Trump.
100%. And another number, he was very strong with independents on this recent one. He was negative 19% with independents, so he's underwater 19 points with independents, which typically was, what pushed him over the finish line for the presidential election.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mike Noble, I appreciate the fact that we have access to you. We're going to follow your series here. And at the end of the day, if it says gloom and doom as this, I'm going to have to open up a can of whoop ass on you.
Well, and that's why I'm kind of
you're giving me a heads up.
when you see the border wall results, like you said, your head may explode. So,
well, we'll be talking to you. All those polls are coming out this week.
Actually, yeah. So we're going to be releasing the two-part series. We're doing one very early tomorrow morning, and then one probably around 9:30ish will be happening. So everything will be out by noon tomorrow. And anyways, if you if you have a spot that needs to be filled and you want
Yeah, no, we're gonna talk to
discuss
you.
some of that stuff, I'd be
You
happy
will
to-
talk
happy
after the
to-
show. We'll talk after the show. We'll get you lined up. You just be sure to make some time and bring your armor, bring your gear. Be kung fu fighting.
Oh, I'm gonna have my mouth guard in. You believe that? And also, I have a new Twitter handle. We actually start moving from my personal to the company. It's actually OH Predictive, and that's it. So
OH
Twitter
Predictive. All right, we'll push that out.
That's
OH
it.
Predictive, our favorite pollster, my friends. Mike Noble, thank you very much for joining us today, and we'll be talking to you tomorrow after the part 2 comes out.
Hey, my pleasure, James. Thank you, sir.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Noble. That's right. And what did he say his Twitter was? OH Perspectives. Is that what you're thinking? Okay. Yeah. Oh, it's just that I'll push out. I'll make doubly sure, my friends. You're listening to 104.1 KQTH Tucson's News and Talk.
John Hunter on One Hit Wonder Wednesday. Nancy Martinez on One Hit Wonder Wednesday.
So that was a very disappointing poll. It is. When we come back, I'm going to gather the children around the radio because I'm going to play President Reagan, a speech that he made warning America about socialized medicine. I know many of you have heard it before. I want you to hear it again in light of what is going on with the repeal and replace battle of Obamacare. We are so far down the road to socialism. Hell, we may already be there. That's coming up next. You're listening to 104.1 KQTH.
the Communards on One Hit Wonder Wednesday.
You can get your James T. Harris embroidered hat by going to jamestharris.com. Hit the shop button on the jamestharris.com site for your embroidered James T. Harris hats and apparel. I was listening to the arguments back and forth about the repeal and replace bill today, and I was listening to how you had these Michigan congressmen who were really hung up because they were concerned that the repeal and replace would not cover people with preconditions. And then when you listen to the left, they also are saying that Republicans are cruel because we want to, in the same argument, back in the day where we want to throw people on Social Security off the cliff. Paul Ryan wants to kill grandma, all that kind of stuff. They go for the over the top, for the emotion. But this idea that insurance is supposed to cover people with preconditions is crazy. I remember when my dog got sick, I went to the pet hospital, and they had insurance up there. But if your dog had the condition, you couldn't buy the insurance. It's like, oh, and then at the same time I'm looking at that, I'm looking at Obamacare. This is like in 2009. This whole idea that government is supposed to cover your insurance, that government is supposed to pay for your it is absurd. But it used to be absurd. It's not anymore.
That is absurd.
Because we're too far down the road. So I stumbled, I remember President Reagan in his famous address warning America about socialized medicine. Please listen to this with all that we know right now. Please listen to this right now.
Back in 1927, an American socialist, Norman Thomas, 6 times candidate for president on the Socialist Party ticket, said the American people would never vote for socialism. But he said under the name of liberalism, the American people will adopt every fragment of the socialist program. There are many ways in which our government has invaded the precincts of private citizens, the method of earning a living. Our government is in business to the extent of owning more than 19,000 businesses covering 47 different lines of activity. This amounts to 1/5 of the total industrial capacity of the United States. But at the moment I'd like to talk about another way, because this threat is with us and at the moment is more imminent. One of the traditional methods of imposing statism or socialism on a people has been by way of medicine. It's very easy to disguise a medical program as a humanitarian project. Most people are a little reluctant to oppose anything that suggests medical care for people who possibly can't afford it. Now, the American people, if you put it to them about socialized medicine and gave them a chance to choose, would unhesitatingly vote against it. We had an example of this under the Truman administration. It was proposed that we have a compulsory health insurance program for all people in the United States, and of course the American people unhesitatingly rejected this. So, with the American people on record as not wanting socialized medicine, Congressman Farrand introduced the Farrand Bill. This was the idea that all people of Social Security age should be brought under a program of compulsory health insurance. Now, this would not only be our senior citizens, this would be the dependents and those who are disabled. This would be young people if they are dependents of someone eligible for Social Security. Now, Congressman Farrand brought the program out on that idea of just for that particular group of people. But Congressman Farrand was subscribing to this foot-in-the-door philosophy because he said, if we can only break through and get our foot inside the door, then we can expand the program after that. Walter Reuther said, it's no secret that the United Automobile Workers is officially on record as backing a program of national health insurance. And by national health insurance, he meant socialized medicine for every American. Well, let's see what the socialists themselves had to say about it. They say, once the Farrand Bill is passed, this nation will be provided with a mechanism for socialized medicine capable of indefinite expansion in every direction until it includes the entire population. Well, we can't say we haven't been warned. Now, Congressman Farrand is no longer a congressman of the United States government. He has been replaced not in his particular assignment, but in his backing of such a bill by Congressman King of California. It is presented in the idea of a great emergency that millions of our senior citizens are unable to provide needed medical care. But this ignores the fact that in the last decade, 127 million of our citizens, in just 10 years, have come under the protection of some form of privately owned medical or hospital insurance. Now, the advocates of this bill, when you try to oppose it, challenge you on an emotional basis. They say, what would you do? Throw these poor old people out to die with no medical attention? That's ridiculous, and of course no one has advocated it. As a matter of fact, in the last session of Congress, a bill was adopted known as the Kerr-Mills Bill. Now, without even allowing this bill to be tried to see if it works, they have introduced this King bill, which is really the Ferrand bill. What is the Kerr-Mills Bill? It is a frank recognition of the medical need or problem of our senior citizens that I've mentioned. And it has provided from the federal government money to the states and the local communities that can be used at the discretion of the state to help those people who need it. Now, what reason could the other people have for backing a bill which says we insist on compulsory health insurance for senior citizens on a basis of age alone, regardless of whether they are worth millions of dollars, whether they have an income, whether they're protected by their own insurance, whether they have savings? I think we could be excused for believing that, as ex-Congressman Ferrand said, this was simply an excuse to bring about what they wanted all the time, socialized medicine. James Madison, in 1788, speaking to the Virginia Convention, said, "Since the general civilization of mankind, I believe there are more instances of the abridgment of the freedom of the people by gradual and silent encroachment of those in power than by violent and sudden usurpations." They want to attach this bill to Social Security, and they say here is a great insurance program now instituted, now working. Let's take a look at Social Security itself. Again, very few of us disagree with the original premise that there should be some form of saving that would keep destitution from following unemployment by reason of death, disability, or old age. And to this end, Social Security was adopted. But it was never intended to supplant private savings, private insurance, pension programs of unions and industries. Now, in our country, under our free enterprise system, we have seen medicine reach the greatest heights that it has in any country in the world. Today, the relationship between patient and doctor in this country is something to be envied any place. The privacy, the care that is given to a person, the right to choose a doctor, the right to go from one doctor to the other. But let's also look from the other side at the freedom the doctor loses. A doctor would be reluctant to say this. Well, like you, I'm only a patient, so I can say it in his behalf. The doctor begins to lose freedoms. It's like telling a lie, and one leads to another. First, you decide that the doctor can have so many patients. They're equally divided among the various doctors by the government. But then the doctors aren't equally divided geographically. So a doctor decides he wants to practice in one town, and the government has to say to him, you can't live in that town. They already have enough doctors. You have to go someplace else. And from here, it's only a short step to dictating where he will go. This is a freedom that I wonder whether any of us have the right to take from any human being. I know how I'd feel if you, my fellow citizens, decided that to be an actor, I had to become a government employee and work in a national theater. Take it into your own occupation or that of your husband. All of us can see what happens once you establish the precedent that the government can determine a man's working place and his working methods, determine his employment. From here, it's a short step to all the rest of socialism, to determining his pay, and pretty soon your son won't decide when he's in school where he will go or what he will do for a living. He will wait for the government to tell him where he will go to work and what he will do. In this country of ours took place the greatest revolution that has ever taken place in the world's history, the only true revolution. Every other revolution simply exchanged one set of rulers for another. But here, for the first time in all the thousands of years of man's relation to man, a little group of men, the Founding Fathers, for the first time, established the idea that you and I had within ourselves the God-given right and ability to determine our own destiny. This freedom was built into our government with safeguards. We talk democracy today, and strangely we let democracy begin to assume the aspect of majority rule is all that is needed. Well, majority rule is a fine aspect of democracy, provided there are guarantees written in to our government concerning the rights of the individual and of the minorities. What can we do about this? Well, you and I can do a great deal. We can write to our congressmen, to our senators. We can say right now that we want no further encroachment on these individual liberties and freedoms. And at the moment, the key issue is we do not want socialized medicine. In Washington today, 40,000 letters, less than 100 per congressman, are evidence of a trend in public thinking. Representative Halleck of Indiana has said, when the American people want something from Congress, regardless of its political complexion, if they make their wants known, Congress does what the people want. So write. And if this man writes back to you and tells you that he too is for free enterprise, but we have these great services and so forth that must be performed by government, don't let him get away with it. Show that you have not been convinced. Write a letter right back and tell him that you believe in government economy and fiscal responsibility, that you know that governments don't tax to get the money they need. Governments will always find a need for the money they get, and that you demand the continuation of our traditional free enterprise system. You and I can do this. The only way we can do it is by writing to our congressman, even if we believe that he's on our side to begin with. Write to strengthen his hand. Give him the ability to stand before his colleagues in Congress and say, I have heard from my constituents and this is what they want. Write those letters now. Call your friends and tell them to write them. If you don't, this program, I promise you, will pass just as surely as the sun will come up tomorrow. And behind it will come other federal programs that will invade every area of freedom as we have known it in this country, until one day, as Norman Thomas said, we will awake to find that we have socialism. And if you don't do this, and if I don't do it, one of these days you and I are going to spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Ronald Reagan, just absolutely amazing, nailed it. Every time I listen to this, I get all goose pimply because this is the man that the left called a dunce. This is the man that the left said, couldn't tie his own and yet he succinctly foretold the day we're living in right now. We're not all the way there yet, but we are too damn close. And when I hear Congress argue about existing conditions and all this other kind of stuff, I just like, what are you talking about? You got a bunch of asshats, asshat politicians talking about the insurance business. They don't know jack about insurance. It's all emotion, and that emotion is ushering in socialism. Yeah, we need to write letters, send emails, and tell them to stand down. Repeal. Let the insurance industry replace. You're listening to 104.1 KQTH.
Graham Parker on One Hit Wonder Wednesday. The Partland Brothers on One Hit Wonder Wednesday.
Our sensei, Jeff Uch, has weighed in on our Reagan conversation. I'm going to save that. I have also a couple of folks who want to weigh in as well. We have Yolanda Weinberger's in New York.
You're right over there.
What'd she do? What did she do?
I had not adjusted the volume.
Oh, we were really loud in your ear.
My ears are going to be ringing for a week.
The lovely, pretty in pink, Erin Christensen is with us. Wow. I saw you stumble, but I thought you were stepping back. I didn't know that you were blown back by the volume.
Yeah.
Those are very sensitive mics.
My ears just got crushed.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I'm one of those people who has really sensitive hearing anyways. You know, I have to sleep with earplugs in because
Really?
every little noise wakes me up.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I'm at the gym, you know, I go to class. Depending upon where I'm standing in the room, like the speakers, somehow the sound like just kind of, I don't know, they bounce off one another or
Right,
something like
right.
that. Certain places in the gym, I literally have to wear earplugs when I'm taking my Zumba classes.
Wow.
Yeah, but not every place. It's kind of weird. And I look around, and there are maybe a handful of other people who wear them. I feel kind of bad. I mean, I don't want to insult.
Well, no, I put the
instructor or
earplugs
anything.
in when my kids have friends over late at night. That's when I put them in. you know.
Sure.
But otherwise,
Well, because teenagers can be loud and
obnoxious.
boisterous and
Very-
obnoxious, and they
very
stay
much
up
so.
late.
Yeah, they do.
And you have to get up earlier than
Why
they
is
do.
that? Why can't teenagers just go to bed like at 8 or 9 o'clock at night?
That's just a teenage
I
thing.
guess so. Like if they stay up longer, they're gonna find something interesting or bump into something interesting, or something interesting is gonna come on the late night reruns or you know the infomercials. Actually, when I used to stay up late, I bought a walk once, about 1 in the morning. It was a great Chinese walk. It was hand hammered by Chinese women, you know, in the villages of China. That's a great walk. Anyway.
You know, I get sucked into that infomercial stuff
Oh
too
my God, I love
sometimes.
it. I love it.
Yeah.
My wife hates it when I'm watching TV.
I can't tell you how
Saturday
much like
afternoon.
makeup and
Oh, my
skincare
goodness.
stuff.
I
and
buy
all
pots
that
and
kind of
pans.
stuff. Pots and
I
pans.
do.
Do you do a lot of cooking?
Oh yeah, I do most of the cooking. You didn't know that about me, huh? Oh yeah.
Every time I've been to your house, I've only seen Smoking Hot cook.
That's because it's like a holiday or something like that. She cooks on the holidays. I cook every other day. As a trade-off.
Okay.
Right.
Ross, then I think he should whip something up on that wok of his and bring it in.
I
Right?
make meat. That's what I eat. I just make
Instead
meat.
of One Hit Wonder Wednesday, it could be like
Walk Wednesday.
Walk Wednesday.
Yeah!
Yeah.
Walk Wednesday.
I might have to put in an order for
Come on.
next Wednesday
Hey,
already.
You know what? Yeah, I'll make that for you.
How about
Tender.
triple-digit heat?
Okay. Come
Ready
on
or
with
not,
Come
here
on
it
with
comes. We could be there tomorrow. We're
Oh.
forecasting 99. There's an off chance we'll hit 100. If not tomorrow, definitely by Friday. We've got 101 in the forecast, but then a dramatic drop in temps by Monday in the 70s.
Well, that sucks. Ladies and gentlemen, she is so pretty today in pink. You can see her at 601 on KQ9 on your side.